So right now, Marvel Studios is deciding what they want to do with the MCU. And this is not only for the entire Multiverse Saga Phase 6 and basically anything before Secret Wars. It's also everything that comes after all of that, after Secret Wars, after the soft reboot of the MCU, and basically Phase 7 and Phase 8. And today we are hearing some inside reports about some projects in Phase 6 and those other phases as well. And it's very interesting because some of the events of Phase 6 are going to shape the events of Phase 7 and Phase 8. Now that might be obvious, but I'm not talking about the story or continuity. I'm talking about scheduling, and more specifically, if Blade ends up happening in Phase 6. Yes, it is slated for Phase 6. Yes, they say it is coming in Phase 6, but it's been delayed multiple times. It's had many different people attached to it, many different writers, many different full scripts completely rewritten. So unfortunately, we don't really know if Blade is going to stick to its release date. However, what makes that so unfortunate is that Blade is going to determine when the true supernatural team in the MCU begins. And that team is going to be a big part of Phase 7 and Phase 8. And yes, you could say we've already kind of dove into the supernatural or mystic side of the MCU with WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and Werewolf by Night, but I'm specifically talking about the supernatural team in the MCU. That has not been established yet, and that starts with Blade. And of course, the team I'm talking about is the Midnight Suns. Some good news about the Midnight Suns, which in turn is also good news about Blade, but we also have some news about Doctor Strange 3 as well. And some of you might like this and some of you might not like this. Some of you might really hate this, but some of you might love it. According to the Insider, Sam Raimi and Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead are in the mix to direct Doctor Strange 3 and Midnight Suns. Now, how you feel about this is probably going to be dependent on how you felt about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And also, we are going to be talking about the cosmic side of the MCU, and we have a Nova update we'll talk about in just a bit. Marvel really is diving further into different sides of the MCU, but with the supernatural side of the MCU, if this report ends up being true, it's actually a really great sign. If they're already looking for directors for the Midnight Suns, that means they think everything is going to work out with Blade, which is a great sign. It is also very interesting that they're currently looking for directors for both of these films, because that could be a good sign that Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange will be sticking around after Avengers Secret Wars. With the rumors of Marvel Studios doing a soft reboot, some people are thinking that Doctor Strange might not survive that soft reboot and his story might end with Secret Wars. And yes, he has been around for a while, but in the comics he's also a very important character for the Midnight Suns. And they might realize that Doctor Strange is a very important character to have for the next saga in the MCU. And of course, the saga that we're in right now, the Multiverse Saga. Doctor Strange is going to be one of the key players of the Multiverse Saga, so it's great to hear that they are thinking about directors now. That means they're getting pretty close, or could even be done with the story of Doctor Strange 3. And Sam Raimi makes sense for Doctor Strange 3 since he directed Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. Now, go ahead, let me know what you think about Sam Raimi directing the next Doctor Strange in the comments down below. I know Multiverse of Madness gets a bad rap, but keep in mind, Sam Raimi came in after Scott Derrickson had already written a script and after Michael Waldron had already come in and started working on a new script that was sort of a revised script as well. And based off of what we have recently learned, the original script wasn't going to have Wanda become a villain. She was actually going to help Doctor Strange fight the main villain of the would-have-been film, Nightmare. However, we heard that Michael Waldron switched it up. Now, it's not that it didn't make sense to have Wanda kind of be corrupted by the Darkhold, but they really pushed it to the extreme with her basically killing a lot of innocent people. However, we have been hearing from insiders and we are getting hints from actual executives at Marvel Studios that the Scarlet Witch will return relatively soon. So it seems like redemption for her is on the way. But again, it kind of seems like it wasn't really Sam Raimi's fault that the story turned out how it did. Yes, he contributed to it, but by the time he got in, it sounds like a lot of work on the script had already been done. And I think having him involved from the ground up with Doctor Strange 3, which was very well set up at the end of Multiverse of Madness with the post-credit scene with Clea showing up, telling Doctor Strange, yo, you caused an incursion, you're coming with me, we're gonna fix it. Doctor Strange didn't even think twice, he said, let's go. So that's what Sam Raimi set up, so continuity-wise, it makes sense to have him come in and direct the next Doctor Strange film. And it looks like Midnight Suns and Doctor Strange might be connected if they're searching for directors at the same time, possibly looking for the same director for both films. So again, that leads us to believe that Strange is going to play some role in the Midnight Suns team. And this most likely is coming in the next saga because there simply is not room in Phase 6 for this movie. Between Doctor Strange 3, the Scarlet Witch Project, Thor 5, Blade, the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man 4, and the Disney Plus shows that we're most likely getting in between all of that, there just really isn't room. So I think it's safe to say that the Midnight Suns team and this supernatural side of the MCU, that's coming in Phase 7 and is going to be a decent part of it. Of course, the X-Men are going to be a main part of it, along with the Fantastic Four, but it's nice to know that that is going to be a priority for Marvel Studios along with these other new franchises that we're finally getting. And if you're worried about the Avengers not still playing a part in the MCU after, well, don't be worried. We have recently heard that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is sticking around way after Avengers Secret Wars, so he'll most likely be one of the main leaders of the Avengers team. But like I mentioned before, we are also going to be diving into the cosmic side of the MCU a lot more in the next saga. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and Marvel executive Brad Winderbaum have confirmed that a Nova Disney Plus series is currently in the works at Marvel Studios and it is coming. Recently, it was revealed that it's going to be a blend of Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, so definitely a big cosmic project. And what we've recently learned today from My Time to Shine Hello as well is that John C. Reilly and Glenn Close will reprise their roles from Guardians of the Galaxy franchise for the upcoming Nova series. And we've also learned recently that the series isn't just going to focus on Richard Rider, but it's going to focus kind of on the Nova Corps as a whole. Now, if this report ends up being true, then the fact that John C. Reilly and Glenn Close are going to be returning, playing their roles of Ramen Day and Nova Prime, then that means one of two things. The first could mean that we are going to kind of go back in time a little bit before Thanos destroyed Xandar. In Avengers Infinity War, Thor told the Guardians of the Galaxy that Thanos decimated Xandar, and decimated is quite a word. He didn't say he attacked Xandar to get the Power Stone, he said he decimated Xandar, in which a lot of us thought that that pretty much meant he destroyed everything. And if that is true, then they're going to go back in time to show us more along the lines of what happened with Ramen Day and Nova Prime, the Nova Corps, and probably lead up to Richard Rider getting the Nova Force. And since they are focusing on a group of the Nova Corps, that means Sam Alexander might be a part of it as well, but we'll have to wait and see. But the second thing that this could mean with those actors returning is that their characters actually survived the attack from Thanos. Thor does say decimate, but that doesn't mean that there couldn't be some survivors. And honestly, if Marvel Studios were going to keep a few characters alive, for continuity purposes and connection, Ramen Day and Nova Prime are the two main characters you should keep, so this does make a lot of sense. Now, I know a lot of people are really excited for the series, myself included, because it could go into things like the new Guardians of the Galaxy. Nova could join the Guardians, especially since we have a new Guardians of the Galaxy team, and Star-Lord is not currently with them, even though we do know he'll return, either in Avengers Doomsday or in Avengers Secret Wars, or both. But I assume at some point in time, Nova will run into the Guardians of the Galaxy. Here's the only issue about that, and it's not really an issue, it's just how it is. This show is not coming until Phase 7. Kevin Feige already confirmed this. He said Nova is 3 or 4 years away. So considering the fact that Secret Wars is less than 3 years away from us, that most likely means Nova is not coming in Phase 6, but is indeed going to be one of the focuses in Phase 7. Which again makes sense because Marvel Studios is going to be focusing more on these other sides of the MCU, the cosmic side and the supernatural side. Nova will be a really big part of the cosmic side, and hopefully we'll get a lot of cool things in the stories that they explore with the Nova series. And if I had to guess, that will probably lead us into a new Guardians of the Galaxy film in Phase 7 or Phase 8. So a lot of really, really exciting things to look forward to, not just in Phase 6, but in Phase 7 as well. So go ahead and let me know what you think about all this news in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, and so you can stay up to date on all news with the MCU. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.